All right, we're still waiting for people to come on. I've started the recording. There is national load shedding, so I am aware that some students reported that they have a fault and they would not be able to sign in. So see what happens. Give people some more time to sign in. Cameron, how's it, Cam? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Yo, Cameron. Oh my goodness, no mic. Oh, that's not lekker, man. Listen, yeah, that's a pity. I hear that Bradley said they've had problems with the due to electricity. So I'm not sure if he's going to come on. Kate, not sure if she's going to come on. Uh, so you don't have sound at all this evening. You can't. You don't have audio. No mic at the office. All right. Okay. Let's wait a while and see. I want to touch on a bit of the exam prep. By the way, you guys have not received any brief on the actual exam, have you? Not as yet. All right, we've got 2 sessions left. I'll see we're finishing up the 22nd next week and then the 28th, the last one. I'm going to talk for people listening to the recording. That's also good. That's also fine, Cam. We can interact with chat. That's fine. So what I want to say, people listening to the recording, if you came in late or you pick up the recording, thank you for us. The three of you, I loaded the ice marks. I captured the ice marks today. So all of you have earned your full ice mark. Thank you for that. Thank you for taking the effort to complete the ones that you needed to complete on the module page. And again, like I said from the beginning, you would agree with me. It's really nice to get that 10%. It's actually silly if you shoot yourself in the foot and don't get that 10%. So thanks for that. That's the story on ice. Ice is done and over with. The marks are in, and you all got your marks, so that's fine. Then this evening, the thing I wanted to do, and I'm going to show you now. I don't think reality will be able to do it then. Let me quickly share. Let me quickly share the debate. I'm going to take my camera away. Right, you will see me sharing a screen. Cameron, if you want to grab my attention, just raise a hand. But I'm going to continue here for a while. So you'll see me sharing a screen where we talk about debate. Now, remember throughout this whole module, throughout the course, we said, you guys need to master the skill, the main skill you need to master is the one of thinking critically. That's what this is all about. And that is why AI is seen in such a serious light. I must tell you guys, AI is causing lots of hassles. In fact, uh, some campuses had to appoint additional resources to look at the AI contraventions because AI was just such a big thing and there were so many contraventions. Each of these need to be adjudicated on merit, and the outcomes can be pretty harsh. Again, guys, let me remind you of that. You can sit with a 50% cap. You can sit with a 0 where you actually don't earn one single mark, depending on the level of contravention with AI. So again, AI is nice, it's lekker, it can do wonderful things, but in the academic space, AI is really not your friend. So critical thinking. So the plan this evening was to at least hopefully get two of you on so that we can do a bit of debate. And the purpose of debate, again, is to teach you or to expose you to put arguments together in a way that is convincing, that is sensible, that can be uh, used to argue a point from different sides, obviously. So there's not just one right answer when we debate. Otherwise, it's not a debatable topic. So we can't say we want to debate whether the sea is salt or we want to debate whether the sun is hot. It's not a debatable topic. So debates are stuff that are often seen as a bit controversial. There's varied opinions on that. Uh, there are there are different sides to the matter that are both carry weight and so on. So that's a debate. But the wonderful thing about that is that it teaches us to order our thoughts. It teaches us to put together arguments, and that's the whole idea. So remember, in this course, in this module, as a postgrad learner, we want you to master the skill. We want you to get on a growth curve of critical thinking, and thereby two things: conducting research, finding yourself navigating your way in the theoretical database, and then academic discourse, in other words, writing, putting forward stuff, communicating, presenting your thoughts in a way that is logical, coherent, and sensible, so that people can have an understanding of what you say and what you mean. So debate is a nice way of doing that sort of thing. And like I say, the purpose of this evening was then to look at to put together some sort of a debate. I say here debate allows for reflective practice on prior knowledge obtained in a module. There's a building of higher order thinking, and there's different methods for solving a problem. Argument points is what it's all about. So debate is fit for purpose at a postgrad level, and it utilizes blended learning amongst students to create arguments. So the debate learning experience relates to and links to research methodology, module in creation of arguments, critique of viewpoints, and remaining objective. Very important. When we take part in debate, we remain, it's sometimes difficult to remain objective, hey? So here's the interesting thing. Sometimes I ask you to argue in support of something that you don't agree with. Now, that's a real stretch, hey? That's a real learning curve. But that is where you learn to put arguments together. I want to maybe highlight this. You know, they say in court cases, it's not necessarily truth that prevails, but who's got the best lawyer? Who can put forward the most convincing arguments? Who can put forward uh, the best speech in order to convince a jury or a judge to make a ruling in whatever side? So interesting, hey, how much weight and meaning the words and the arguments that we put forward carry. So debate allows us to build on the skills of presentation, critical thinking, and then working in groups or working individually. And this evening, the idea is that a team or a member with one member per side would formulate and present 3 arguments in support of a view. Then a team or an individual gets a second turn to respond to the claims raised by the opponent, and then the floor is open for the audience. That would be me or other students if we had them to participate in discussion and provide feedback. So the debate topics that I identified this evening is this one first. Energy or Eskom should be privatized and not supplied by government. So the idea is that one of you would argue in support of this statement. Identify 3 arguments in support of the statement. Yes, I agree with the statement for this reason. Number 1, number 2, number 3. And then the opposing member or opposing team, opposing individual would not agree with this statement. In other words, they would argue the converse or the inverse and formulate 3 arguments in support of the opposite of the statement. In other words, I don't agree with the statement. And then I'm going to give you guys a chance to work to and fro a bit and to say, all right, let's critique your arguments. Let's respond to what you said and so on. Right. The next topic, and maybe we'll do the debate on our next session, guys. It says artificial intelligence or AI will replace human managers in decision making and employee oversight. Again, it's a debatable topic. One person would look for arguments and formulate 3 arguments in support of that statement. Someone else would argue the inverse. And again, you're going to have a chance to respond and take the discussion a bit further. I will facilitate the discussion. The third topic I had, and I think we can choose one of them, would be that meaningful outcomes for South Africa should be centered around individual actions versus changes driven by government. So what we're saying here is there's a lot of change needed in South Africa. Should we look and wait and see what government does or come up with? Or should we say individuals should take responsibility, assume responsibility and take charge and play a larger role, be it formally or informally, to create change. So that's what debate is about. I think it's nice, it's interesting, it's a nice exercise, and normally it stretches your thinking and it really teaches you to put forward stuff that is sensible, guys. You cannot just suck anything from your thumb and say you think this or that. You cannot put stuff there that doesn't make sense because there's an opposing member, there's an opposing team looking and scrutinizing what you are saying. So can your arguments stand up to scrutiny from that opposing team? So it sort of forces us to think about how we put together these ideas. All right, so that was the plan for this evening, is to run the debate. Cam, are you with me? Yes, right. Okay, so obviously we're not going to do that this evening. I don't think it's going to fly at all. Let me share a bit of info on the exam. That was the other pressing question you guys had. And I'm going to tell you what I can tell you. So the first thing that I have to tell you categorically is this, folks. There's no ways that I as a lecturer has any privy or insight into the actual exam. Those things are kept locked up behind bars. So there's absolutely no way that we could get a pair of eyes on the exam and come back to you guys and say, well, this is what you can expect. I think those things are guarded better than the Queen's jewelry, if I can use that analogy. So that's the first thing. We don't know what it's going to look like. So I've looked at some of the examples that was forwarded to me. Bradley sent me some stuff. Also, by the way, quickly, while I'm sharing, I'm going to send you guys some articles. There's a very nice article on entrepreneurship gaps framework and exploration of into expectations vis-a-vis realities of entrepreneurship. So that's a nice one. Local study, University of Venda. There's another one using grounded theory approach in developing a taxonomy of entrepreneurial ventures in South Africa, a case study of the Limpopo province. This was a doctorate in business management study. I will put this on the module page. You guys will see on your module page, if you navigate to the left, to the folder list, you will see there's a place there where I've loaded up a couple of articles for you. I want to give you these. These are actually full text theses that you can look at. Both of them are on doctorate level about entrepreneurship. Very interesting, very eye-opening and insightful. So keep an eye open for this. I will put this on the module page under that folder where I give you guys additional stuff. All right, that's just a side note. So we had a look at some of there's a 2021 one. There was a 2023 one. 2024 last year. So the interesting thing here, 2023, it was a 21-hour long slot. The year before that, it was 2 hours. This year again, or last year again, 2 hours. So I reckon that's pretty much what we'll see. Remember, COVID also disrupted things tremendously. Why? Because students couldn't get onto campus. Now, I think I told you last time in my conversation with the actual results capture people, they said, and we touched on this last time, and that's as much as I know, is that there's an option to come and write the exam on campus, or you can write it online using that Dagga technology, which is some sort of an online facility. And to the best of my knowledge, when I asked the person directly, is there a specific requirement where one takes precedence over the other? And she said no, as far as she knows or understands, it's up to the student. So the student can do what they see fit. So obviously, guys, this is going to be most probably one of those shorter exams, the 2-hour exam probably, because they're not going to let you sit on campus for that long. And the main thing that I would say, if I was in your shoes now, in preparing for this, I would say here's the big thing that you need to understand. Over the course of the semester, we've learned about thinking. We've learned about taking theory and integrating theory with some sort of a case they're giving you. They're giving you some scenario. They're giving you some case study. And now the question is, how do you assess this? How do you evaluate this? How do you critique this? What interventions, what recommendations can one do here? And of course, the main thing here, the main difference between where we find ourselves now and standing amongst a barbecue on a Friday night is that we are talking as academics here. We cannot just start and jump into stuff, say, this is my opinion, that's your opinion. We have to put forward educated contributions, which means we have to dip our pen into some sort of academic / theoretical database and then integrate that with the topic at hand. That's how we deal with things as postgrad academics. And it's the same story here. So, whatever they're going to throw at us for the exam. So I see on the PAS, it's a scene exam. We're going to see something. We're going to probably see the case study. Now, in the honor space, apologies. Things that worked a bit differently in the past, they actually give you the say 6 scene questions, case studies with the actual questions. And the honor students have to go and work out all those questions. In other words, you're going to sit and you're going to work out all 6 of them, taking you days and nights to do that. And when you pitch in the actual exam, you get 2 of those pre-seen case studies that you've worked out. So one could argue, are we really testing the students' ability to think critically on the day they come and sit and write the exam? Or are we testing their memory retention again from what did they prepare at home? Because now they must come and give that back in an exam setting with a pen and exam books. And they typically, remember, honors is at the same NQF level you guys are. They will typically come and write 2 or 3 books full with the pen in answering these questions. A question can count 60 marks. So there's a lot of information. There's a lot of stuff you have to give me in order to award marks. What I want to say also is, guys, and I've told you this from the beginning. Remember when we looked at the module outline right at the start, I said, there's your textbook, there's your prescribed material. It's a Nieuwenhuizen's book on entrepreneurship. But I said, that is not the start all and end all. And then I showed you those pages and pages and pages of recommended reading where we say, listen, the world is your playground. Get out of the box. Get out of your textbook. Inform yourself as wide and as broad as you can uh, to become some sort of a subject matter expert on the whole idea of entrepreneurship. And that is still my view on the way I would treat this. So, for the exam, say they give us a case study or two. We read the case study, we can we can speculate. If they don't give us anything else, we can speculate on what sort of questions can come out of that. But I mean, there's a lot. They can go anywhere they want. We don't know. We don't know what exactly they will give us in the pre-seen exam brief. What I would do if I was in your shoes is to say, all right, I need to equip myself. I need to gather resources to handle whatever they throw at me. I need to acquaint myself. I need to get comfortable. I need to have an ammunition bag that contains resources that I can use to handle whatever they ask me to do on that day. In other words, I must be saturated in a sense with theoretical constructs and different things that will allow me to handle that. Now, that said, um, I'm not going to bound you guys or bind you down to the textbook. I don't think that's the idea of this module. So again, and I think my style of marking is very open-minded. I want to see what you can give me. I want to see what you can come up with from an academic perspective, speaking as an educated voice. But I'm open-minded to say, you can almost say whatever you want as long as it makes sense, as long as you can motivate what you are saying there. So I'm going to assess the arguments you put forward again. But now, you have to pitch, you have to show up on the day of the exam with resources to your disposal. In other words, we've exposed you to how to handle things and how to tackle things, but you have to go and equip yourself with resources because you need to handle this from an academic perspective. So what I would do is I would actually take the module outline as a basis and say, well, there's my roadmap, there's my broad overview of the things I need to look into, plus the application. And I would summarize from the module outline as a basic perspective. Now, remember, in the module outline, they give us chapters that are linked to all those different things, which is good. That's a starting place. You can use that as to summarize that. So when we hit the exam and they ask you to speak about the window of opportunity, guys, that must not be the first time in your life that you interact with that term, that you are confronted with that. So use the broad overview, zoom in, take the model outline, and equip yourself as best as you can to talk about the topics laid out in the module outline in a way that makes sense. Do you have something to say? I want to give you an analogy. It's like a rugby game. You know, when you don't know anything about rugby, I'm not a rugby fan. I know lots of people are. I sit and watch a rugby game, but I've got nothing to say. I've got no insight into it. I've got no language. I've got no linguistic frames to say this is a line out. This is a penalty kick or whatever the case may be. I don't know. I cannot converse. I cannot engage with the topic, with the phenomenon in front of me because I'm ill-equipped or poorly equipped. Someone that knows rugby can sit next to the rugby field and they can literally talk the whole time like a rugby commentator. They can tell you so much stuff. Why? Because they have the skills, the resources, they are equipped to engage in what's happening there. And that's the way I want you guys to think of how you're going to educate yourself and how you're going to come to that place where you can interact meaningfully with the material that they give you. So don't land an exam and then when they throw something at you, say, oh my goodness, I've never ever heard of this term. I think the module outlines, I don't think they would gooi something at you that falls completely out of the scope of your module outline. In other words, that's never been, you've never been exposed to that particular material. I don't think that will happen. So that's what I would use. I would take a bird's eye and then zoom in and see how much I can equip, how good I can equip myself to handle that. We'll see what they give us with the exam. But if it's a simple case study and there's no clues whatsoever, then it doesn't really help us a lot. Maybe there are some clues, or we can determine between the lines where they are going with things. But we can't really say, ne? That's about as much as I can say. So we've seen those. If I look at the 2021 thing, there was a lot of shorter questions. 2023 was a bit more of an essay type question where they had much larger, higher marking, higher weighting questions. So here you had to probably take on more of an essay approach and write more about that. I think personally that they would move away from those shorter questions and give you guys more of an essay type sort of scenario with bigger counting questions. And then obviously, if you look at your rubric, here's the key. The rubric is not what is the 3 steps of this, what is the 5 elements of this, describe this model, name the 2 things. It's not that. We're sitting in that postgrad vibe, as you can see on this rubric from last year, where we say, look at the knowledge and analysis of your analysis, your evaluation of the scenario, the substantiation of points, and overall comprehensiveness. So it's the typical sort of rubric where a post-grad person would feel comfortable in. And then again, if this, let me just quickly look. I'm not sure if they will, all right, in this case, they've given you 2 questions and they've asked you to answer all questions. So most probably they'll stick to that. I know in the past we've had the scenario where they can sometimes give you guys an option to say there's 3 available questions. You select any 2 of them and you answer the 2 questions for your 120 marks, 60 marks per question. So I'm not sure what we're going to see. If it's exactly the same as last year, then you're going to get your 2 questions. You need to answer all of them. If there is a bit of a choice for you and you can select, well, that's always nice because then you're probably going to gravitate or lean toward 2 of those questions a bit more. But this is the rubric. Again, it's the same story. Do you understand the theory? Do you understand how to apply the theory? And do you have the linguistic resources to talk and to interact meaningfully about these topics? I think that's as much as we're going to say at this point. Let's see what they give us in a brief. Cameron, I hope that answered some of your questions. Do you want to maybe ask? All right, there you started. All right. Is there a preferred structure for answering example 20 mark question, like using introduction, case study, or an academic theory we should study hard or look at? I'm not going to be too prescriptive in that, guys. I'm not gonna put down a specific idea. Deal with something and move on to the next. So what I would say is the more readable you make your paper for me, the easier it's for me to mark. Remember, I'm sitting on the outside, you're writing. So the worst thing you can do is to just jump in and start writing a lot of stuff. So order and structure your writing. Give me an opportunity. I see they say here there's reading time prior to the clock starting. Um, Give me something that's readable, that's logical, that's coherent. I want to know where I am. I want to know what is it we're talking about now, and then you move on to the next. So I wouldn't be too prescriptive in saying this is how you should approach it in terms of you do it how you see fit. What happens if you get flagged during the DAGA exam due to internet drop or camera issues? Oh my goodness, I don't know. Because now with load shedding popping up again, that's a story. I understand with DAGA, you guys need to actually sit there in camera. Is that true? And they need to watch you on camera. Is that what happens, eh? Okay. Um, Word limit. I don't see word limits in your previous ones. Let's just look at I don't see mention of word limits in these, but obviously you're gonna have to play that by ear and see how it pans out. So obviously, again, that's something that you're gonna self-manage. So here it's tricky. Guys, I must be honest, between you and me, I'm glad I'm not writing this exam, hey. It's difficult. I'm really, really, really serious. This is not easy. It's quite a challenge. So you have to strike the balance, guys, between not spending too much time on answering anything. Now, they normally say it's 1 mark for 1 minute. So we know that this is 120 mark. Say that's the marking, and we've got 2 hours. We're sitting with 120 minutes, 120 marks. So if you find yourself halfway through your time, but you've only addressed 5% of the actual question, then you are lagging behind. So rather than looking at word limits, I would maybe say, how are you going to use Cam, how are you going to use your time wisely if we sort of loosely use the rule of thumb of one mark per minute? That's a sort of a nice way to sort of keep you on track. And then you're right. Obviously, you have to give me something to work with. You have to give me something to mark. So to push out that 20 marks or 60 marks in a question, that's substantial. There's a lot of stuff there. You have to give me something. You're not going to write half a page and now I must see how I can draw out 60 marks for you. All right? Can't do that. So you have to manage this, you have to navigate, you have to self-manage it, you have to answer it as good and as substantial as you can while being able to produce that within the given time limits. I just want to say what else you say. So I really don't know what happens if DAGA falls over. I really don't know. I'm not familiar with that. I've never ever worked with that. So that's the story. Where did you get a hold of the exam brief last year? Will you send that to me? Did they only gave you the case studies? Is there any other clues in the actual brief, Cam? Okay, you can someone send it to me or email to or whatever. So, um, yes, I would take it from looking at my module outline, looking at relevant concepts. I want to have, it's like having arrows in your, what do you call the thing on your back? Is it a quiver? Don't come to the exam and there's no ammunition in your bag or no arrows in your quiver. So get yourself puffed up with knowledge and language and frames and concepts so that you can handle with this. Do your research so that you have something to say on what they ask you. That's the main thing. So you have to, here's a nice word, you're going to have to immerse yourself in the subject material, not only in the textbook, go wider so that you are clued up on the issues that are covered in your module outline. Does that make sense? All right, I see you trying to upload the brief. You say yes. All right, so that's good. You can also mail that to me or send it with whatever means. At this point, we're sitting on exam 23rd of June, so that's more than a month away. We're going to see each other 2 more times after this evening. We're going to see each other then on the 21st and the 28th. That's when we're coming in for a landing. So if we have more info at that point, we can obviously look at that. We can discuss it some more. So guys, what I would do in the meantime is just to get acquainted and read and figure stuff out and do some research so that you can have a meaningful discussion like that. Like the person sitting next to a rugby field that can actually participate in the conversation. You have to be able to participate in this entrepreneurship conversation. Is that enough for this evening, Cam? Anything else you want to ask specifically? You're also welcome to contact me on my email if there's stuff specifically that you want us to look at. Bradley, Kate, I hope you guys are also watching this. Remember the debate thing. We might do that next time. Debate is very nice to help us to formulate arguments and to put together arguments. And then we just watch the space if there's anything else. Please, again, if you see anything dropping on that portal of yours, in the meantime, please notify me immediately so that we can actually have a hands-on look at it. Anything else? Cameron, you're the only one in class this evening. You don't have a mic, so it's a bit difficult to converse. Um, Anything else you want to ask specifically, or did I answer most of your questions? And look, I really don't know, hey? Maybe they put a word limit in this year. I don't know. We don't see the exam at all. No lecturers, no one sees it. They drop it on the day, and then because obviously there's always the risk of exams leaking out, so that's why it's kept so strictly confidential. All right, I see here's a document that you shared. Open that. Okay. All right, I'm just looking at your, all right, so they literally given you the cases, and there's a lot of detail in the cases. All right, so 6 cases, but no additional clues. This was 2024, right? So at least, maybe subtly or between the lines, you're gonna pick up on stuff that you can maybe look at into in particular cases. If I look at last year, where they didn't give you guys any choice between the actual 2 cases you answer, they give you 2 and you have to answer both the cases that they give you, and there's 6 of them. All right, if that's the same, then we sort of know what to expect. We have an idea of the sort of things they'll give us, and then we can just take in our preparation. Obviously, it's impossible to do a customized preparation per case. We have to do a broader preparation and equip ourselves with the linguistic frames to tackle literally anything they throw at us. Cameron says all my questions are answered. Maybe just an approach these cases. We can also hit it next week. All right. Well, fantastic then, guys. I'm gonna land it for now. I will publish this recording as well, and then we'll see each other next week. Thank you very much and all the best. Um, use the time you have now. We touch base once a week. You guys are enrolled on this module. Use your time, get your nose in between those books, the papers online, do some research, uh, uh, get yourself up to speed with the terms, the concepts, the constructs, so that you have enough theoretical arrows in your quiver to club those case studies. All right. Thanks a lot, Cam. Take care. We speak. Cheers. Bye, everyone.